Have you ever unlocked your phone without even knowing why you did it? You weren't waiting for a message. You weren't looking for anything specific. You simply reached for it, opened the screen, checked a few apps, and then, a few seconds later, realized you had no idea what you were doing there. And here's the strange part. You may have already checked your phone 5 minutes ago. So why did you check it again? The answer has very little to do with willpower. Your phone has become something much more interesting to your brain than just a device. It has become a source of possibility. Maybe there's a message. Maybe someone liked your post. Maybe something interesting happened. Maybe there's something new waiting for you. And that little word, maybe, is incredibly powerful. Because your brain is not only attracted to rewards. It is especially sensitive to unpredictable rewards. Think about the last time you were standing in line somewhere, sitting in your car, waiting for an appointment, or simply watching television during a quiet moment. What happened when there was nothing demanding your attention? Your hand probably went toward your phone. Maybe you didn't even make a conscious decision. That is one of the first important things to understand. A lot of phone checking is not actually a decision anymore. It is a habit. And habits can become automatic surprisingly quickly. There is usually a trigger, followed by a behavior, followed by some kind of reward. You feel bored. You pick up your phone. Something interesting appears. Your brain gets a little hit of novelty. And the cycle repeats. But there is something even more interesting happening underneath. Your brain is constantly trying to predict what will happen next. When you open your phone, you don't know exactly what you're going to find. Maybe nothing happened. Maybe you have 3 new messages. Maybe somebody responded to something you posted. Maybe there is a new video you want to watch. Maybe there is breaking news. Maybe someone you care about contacted you. And sometimes there really is something rewarding waiting for you. Other times there isn't. That uncertainty is part of what keeps the behavior alive. Imagine a machine that gave you a reward every single time you pressed a button. Eventually, you might stop caring. But what if the reward appeared randomly? Sometimes you got nothing. Sometimes you got something small. And occasionally, you got something exciting. You would probably keep pressing. This principle has been studied extensively in psychology and behavioral science, particularly in relation to variable reinforcement. And many of the digital experiences we use every day naturally create this kind of unpredictability. Your phone doesn't tell you, there is definitely something interesting here. It tells your brain, there might be. That difference matters. Because anticipation itself can be stimulating. This is why you can feel an urge to check your phone even before you know what you're looking for. You're not necessarily looking for information. You're looking for the possibility of information. And that is a very different thing. Now think about another situation. You're working. You have an important task in front of you. It's not necessarily difficult, but it requires concentration. Then suddenly, you feel a tiny bit of discomfort. Maybe you're stuck. Maybe you're bored. Maybe the task is taking longer than expected. And almost automatically, you reach for your phone. You tell yourself, I'll just check it for a second. But that second becomes 30 seconds. Then maybe 2 minutes. And when you return to your work, something subtle has changed. You have to remember what you were doing. You have to rebuild your concentration. And sometimes you feel slightly more mentally tired than before. This is where the phone becomes more than a distraction. It becomes an escape from discomfort. And this may be one of the biggest psychological reasons you keep checking it. Your phone doesn't only give you entertainment. It gives you an immediate way to change how you feel. Bored? Check your phone. Lonely? Check your phone. Anxious? Check your phone. Uncomfortable? Check your phone. Waiting? Check your phone. Don't know what to do with yourself? Check your phone. The phone becomes an emotional shortcut. Instead of sitting with boredom, you eliminate boredom. Instead of sitting with uncertainty, you search for information. Instead of sitting with an uncomfortable thought, you replace it with stimulation. And eventually, your brain starts learning something very powerful. Whenever I feel uncomfortable, the phone makes the feeling go away. That's a lesson your brain remembers. This is why simply telling yourself, "I need more discipline," often doesn't solve the problem. You're not fighting a piece of technology. You're fighting a learned response to boredom, uncertainty, loneliness, stress, and anticipation. And there's another psychological detail that makes this even more powerful. Your phone is always available. For most of human history, stimulation was not available on demand. If you were bored, you had to tolerate boredom. If you wanted to talk to someone, you had to find them. If you wanted information, you had to search for it. If you wanted entertainment, you had to wait for it. Today, almost everything is immediate. Your brain has access to thousands of potential sources of stimulation in your pocket. And because the phone is always there, even a tiny moment of boredom can trigger the habit. This changes the way we experience silence. Think about what happens when you're in an elevator. 10 years ago, you might simply stand there. Now, many people immediately pull out their phones. Walking somewhere? Phone. Waiting for coffee? Phone. Sitting in a doctor's office? Phone. Waiting for a friend who is 2 minutes late? Phone. Those tiny moments used to be empty spaces in the day. Now we fill almost every one of them. And here's the uncomfortable revelation. You may not actually be addicted to your phone. You may be addicted to never feeling bored. That sounds like a small distinction, but it changes everything. Because boredom is not necessarily your enemy. Boredom is often the space where your mind begins to wander. And when your mind wanders, it can make connections. Ideas appear. Memories surface. Problems get processed. Sometimes you suddenly understand something while taking a shower or driving because your brain finally has room to think. But if every empty moment gets filled with scrolling, your brain gets fewer opportunities to experience that quiet. You become uncomfortable with stillness. And then you interpret that discomfort as a reason to reach for the phone. There's another reason checking your phone can become emotionally complicated. Your phone isn't just a tool anymore. For many people, it has become connected to their social identity. It's where conversations happen. It's where people see how others are living. It's where work messages arrive. It's where social approval appears. It's where news arrives. It's where entertainment lives. It's where memories are stored. It's where people organize their lives. So when you put the phone down, part of your brain may interpret that as disconnecting from the world. And that can create a subtle fear of missing something. Maybe something happened while you were away. Maybe someone needs you. Maybe there's an important message. Maybe everyone else is having an interesting conversation without you. This is one reason notifications can feel strangely urgent even when they aren't important. Your brain doesn't always distinguish between important and new. New information automatically gets attention. And when you repeatedly respond to notifications, you teach your brain that every interruption deserves a reaction. That's why one of the most powerful changes you can make is surprisingly simple. Reduce unnecessary notifications. Not because notifications are evil, but because every notification can become an external trigger for a habit. You don't want your phone deciding when your attention should change. You want to decide. There's also something else worth noticing. Sometimes you check your phone because you are avoiding yourself. That might sound dramatic, but think about it. What happens when you are alone in a quiet room with nothing to do? What thoughts appear? What worries become louder? What questions about your life come to the surface? Maybe you start thinking about work. Maybe a relationship. Maybe money. Maybe the future. Maybe something you haven't dealt with emotionally. The phone offers a very convenient escape. You don't have to think about any of that. You can watch a video. Read a comment. Check the news. Scroll through someone's life. And for a moment, your own thoughts become quieter. The problem is that avoidance feels good in the short term. But what makes you feel better for 30 seconds can make you less comfortable with your own thoughts over time. And that is one of the hidden costs of constant stimulation. You may become less practiced at being alone with your own mind. So what can you actually do about it? You don't necessarily need to throw your phone away. You don't need to move to a cabin in the mountains. And you don't need to become someone who never uses social media. Start by creating small moments where you deliberately don't check. For example, when you're waiting for your coffee, leave the phone in your pocket. When you're standing in line, resist the urge. When you're eating, try leaving it somewhere else. When you wake up, give yourself the first 10 or 15 minutes without immediately looking at the screen. These moments may feel strangely uncomfortable at first. That's actually useful information. Notice the urge. Don't immediately obey it. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Maybe you're bored. Maybe you're anxious. Maybe you're avoiding something. Maybe you simply want stimulation. You don't have to judge the feeling. Just notice it. Because the moment you can observe the urge without automatically acting on it, you've created a small gap between the trigger and the behavior. And that gap is where control begins. You can also make your phone slightly less rewarding. Remove apps you constantly check from your home screen. Turn off notifications that don't matter. Keep your phone farther away when you're working. Use a real alarm clock if you tend to check your phone first thing in the morning. These sound like small changes. They are. And that's exactly why they work. You don't always need a dramatic transformation. Sometimes you simply need to make the automatic behavior slightly less automatic. But perhaps the most important change is psychological. Stop asking, how do I stop using my phone so much? Start asking, what am I using my phone to avoid? That question can reveal a lot. If you check it whenever you're bored, maybe you need to become more comfortable with boredom. If you check it whenever you're anxious, maybe the phone has become your coping mechanism. If you check it whenever you're alone, maybe you're craving connection. If you check it whenever work becomes difficult, maybe you're using stimulation to escape frustration. The phone might not be the real problem. It might simply be the easiest solution your brain has learned. And once you understand that, you can begin changing the pattern. The goal isn't to hate technology. The goal isn't to feel guilty every time you scroll. And the goal certainly isn't to become perfectly disciplined. The goal is to get your attention back. Because your attention is one of the most valuable things you have. Where your attention goes, your life follows. If your attention is constantly pulled toward notifications, short videos, messages, and endless updates, then your day is being shaped by whatever happens to appear on your screen. But if you can create moments where you choose what deserves your attention, something changes. You become less reactive. You become more present. You can concentrate longer. You may even begin noticing things you had forgotten how to notice. A conversation without checking your phone. A walk without listening to something. A meal without scrolling. A quiet room without immediately filling it. A few minutes where your mind is allowed to wander. At first, those moments may feel empty. Eventually, they can begin to feel peaceful. And maybe that's the deeper lesson. Your phone has trained you to expect something every time there is silence. But silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. Sometimes, silence is where you finally hear yourself think. So the next time you reach for your phone without knowing why, pause for just a moment. Don't judge yourself. Don't tell yourself you're weak. Just ask one simple question. What am I hoping to find? Maybe there is a message. Maybe there is something new. Maybe there isn't. But perhaps what you're really looking for isn't on the screen at all. Maybe you're looking for stimulation. Maybe reassurance. Maybe connection. Maybe escape. And once you can recognize what you're actually looking for, you have something your phone cannot give you automatically. A choice. If this helped you understand your mind better, subscribe for more videos like this.